what does Saxon mean? In this video, we're going to look at a historical source and discuss and explore what Saxon actually means. So let's dive right into it. So we have here from the Rerum Gestarum Saxonicarum by Widukindus of, I think Corvey, but the Latin here says Corbeus from the 10th century. So we're dealing with the 900s here. We have an excerpt here that's roughly translated, essentially saying that in our language, that knives are called, or a knife, if you will, is called a sax, or if you will, in English, the cognate to this is sax. It's really referring to a dagger, a knife, and hence called the Saxons, right? So people associated with the dagger and whatnot. But to go a little more in depth into this quote, what it's actually saying here, if the Latin translation here is correct. I mean, this is Google Translate. I mean, how reliable is it? I don't know. For those of you who actually know Latin, please let me know what you think down below and whatnot. All right. So, but just to explore this historical source a little further, I have another quote here that, and this is Widukindus, talking about, the Franco. Thuringian War and how the Saxons were involved in that, and how the Saxons, how Widukindus is saying, in those days, the Saxons used great knives, which the English use to this day, following the custom of the ancient nation. I mean, this is really interesting how, it's really cool how, we have a source from back then telling us conclusively that what the word Saxon even means. That it's really nice to have things that set the record straight, if you will. But anyway, I'm ranting on. But to dive further into this, we have another quote here. This is from early up in the text. This is early up as well, and this part comes after. But to explore this part here, it's interesting. It describes a bit about what was going on and whatnot, because essentially, if I understand this correctly, that the Saxons were seemingly unarmed, and they went to the Thuringians, who they were unarmed too, and then all of a sudden, the Saxons were running at the Thuringians, and drew their saxes and then slew them. And it says here, if the translation is correct, that the Saxons were distinguished for their existence and began to strike too much alarm to the neighboring nations. So that's so they really were a knifey people, a really warring people, and whatnot. So yeah, and that's why it says over here, if the Latin translation is correct, that there were also some who, after committing this crime, say that the name was given to them for, in our language, knives are called sax. So really the knife people. So it's nice to have from the period, or someone from around this time, because the Franco-Thuringian Saxon War that happened, in the 500s. So we have someone a few hundred years later, commenting on this and telling us today, essentially, what was going on. So yeah. So in conclusion, the word Saxon comes from, is a descriptional epithetical term, just referring to one who's of the knife, one who uses knives or known for the knife or what have you. So the knife people, if you will. So we got sax, which means sax, cognate to sax. So it means a knife, a dagger. So we have an Old Saxon, a reconstruction of saxo. And the final O there, this is for Old High German as well. And Old High German, I have to emphasize, is a group of dialects, right? It's not a singular, monolithic, singular language. It's a group of dialects. So the final O denotes a male agent. So he who is of the knife, or male knife person, if that makes sense. That's a really bad translation on my part, forgive me. But so for those of you who are actually studying these languages in great depth, that's what that final O is for. It's a weak masculine noun. So you get nouns are divided up between strong and weak. Well, this is an example of weak. We got the singular, just was with the O, and then we got the N thrown on there as for the plural form. So yeah, that's pretty much it, really. And just to top things off with Crocodile Gundy, and I translated here the quote. Here we go. That is sachs, that is sachs. That's not a knife. That's a knife. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe if you're new. And if you really like the channel, please become a patron at my Patreon page down below. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.